Hey guys, it's Kate Amedeo here, and this is a kind of an experiment that I want to do, and I decided to also show you what I'm doing. So basically, I'm using sandpaper as usual, and this is 800 grit, and I washed it with water over dry pastel. So I added pastel and then washed it, and I also I have these pieces of pastel here that are kind of very tiny, so I kind of broke one of them and used it as paint basically to put a layer over the sandpaper. And as usual, I tape my paper to the board that I'm using, and now let's start drawing the two trees. Found this picture on Pixabay and it really kind of made me want to draw it. So let's draw out the shapes, and I'm just gonna sketch in this area here of rocks. You can also find this picture on my Patreon. You don't have to be a member or anything. You can just go there and download it. It's free access. And I'm gonna map in my trees. So there's one here and the other one is slightly more to this side. And I'm not gonna draw out the shape of the trees. I will go in with pastels to do that. And I'm going to put in the horizon line, and I'm putting my horizon line slightly off the center. It's never good to put the horizon line in the middle. So here we will have that forest bit going on. And one very important tip that I can give you is that always have a reference photo in color and in grayscale. So if you're working from photos, in a perfect world, you would work from a real life scene. But if you're working from a photo, do take a look at the photo, especially if you're just beginning, do take a look at the photo and convert it into grayscale. So you can see the relationship between the colors and how light or dark they are. So I'm gonna go in and start drawing my sky. Usually I prepare my palette ahead of time, so maybe we can do that now. I'm gonna take my blues, and I don't want to use my more expensive pastels, to be honest, sandpaper, because it really eats it out. So this is kind of sky blue light, and I need something darker. So this could be good. Yes, you can see it. Some bits of pastel here. I'm cleaning my hands, something you get used to while working in pastels. So this is for my sky, and then I need something warmer to put on the bottom, and I think I'm gonna go into yellows, and this light yellow is going to be quite nice. So this is my sky palette, and you can see that this blue is very light compared to the greens that I will be using for the trees, and also the grays for the rocks. It's important that you maintain that relationship. And usually also one more thing is that the water usually is darker than the sky. So I'm going to use a slightly darker kind of tone in the water, just closer maybe to the trees. So I'm going to see how this is. Yeah, so this is, oh, okay. I spit on my paper. Oh no. Sorry for that. So I'm using, this is slightly darker, this blue. So you can see that it's darker. Now, I need colors for my trees, and they are quite dark. But the further off into the distance you go, the kind of less contrast we will have. So I will use this dark green. This is, I think it's a Rembrandt, this one. It's from the one of the darkest pastels that they have, and I really like it. And then I will also need my greens for the trees. So this is quite good for also shadow parts on the trees. And for the trees, I'm going to be using, let's check out this one. So this is quite nice. And then I need some yellower bits for the trees, just to give it some liveliness. Let's see this one. Oh, this is too bright. I'll go into more yellows. So this is going to give us that sunshiny feeling on top of this green. Then I need something to draw the trees themselves, and I think this is quite a nice color for the lightest parts, if you can see it. So this is kind of the ochre thing. This is Russian brand. They are called, oh my gosh, I forgot how they're called. It's one of the Russian pastels. I bought it when I was back home in Latvia, but they are nice on sandpaper. They're quite hard and they are not as brightly pigmented, but they work amazingly on sanded surfaces. And then I need something dark for my trunks, and I'll go into grays. I think the grays are good. So let's try this gray. Don't like it particularly. This is my go-to unison gray. I love this color. It's very dark. So we can use that one. I can use it also in the rocks, and we need something else for the rocks. Something, let's try this one. This is too light and not exactly what I want. This is bluish. I don't want it to be cool. I need something warmer. So I'm gonna take a look at my brown colors. This color is also one more that I like. This one here, and then I need something in between these two, in between this one and the very dark gray. And I'm gonna go into, for making our shadows cool, I can use these cool colors. So this one is gonna work pretty good. I will start with the sky. So with the sky, I'm starting with this brighter blue, and you can see how amazingly rich the color looks on sandpaper. And I don't want to make the sky kind of until the very edge of the paper. I will just, I like the kind of ripped out effect of pastel, that it doesn't have a straight edge. So I'm adding my blues, and I'm adding them more towards the center and more around these trees that I have. So that's my compositional center, and that's what I want to focus on. And here, as it goes off, I'm gonna add less pastel. Then I'm passing to my other blue that is lighter, and I'm looking where I see it. So I'm gonna kind of create the shape already of my trees slightly. Also, an awesome thing is that when you are drawing trees, you can go and knock yourself out and you can make them how you want. You don't have to copy. So that's an amazing thing, especially if you're a beginner. And now I'm gonna add this yellow here at the bottom. I'm gonna try not to go over my tree line here, because it's gonna be difficult for me to add that darkness to the trees. And going over here and adding it here as well. And I'm making it sunnier than it's in the picture, because I'm in a sunny mood today. And I also will add some pinks. Just choosing the right pink. Let's try this one. So yeah, this is quite warm. I want to make it glow the sky. So this is my first layer of pastel before I start blending. Also, when drawing water, there's a thing you can use. You can use a sheet of paper and kind of check that your level of the sea or any water source is the same. So that's going to help you kind of make a straight line instead of making it kind of falling off of the picture plane. So now I'm gonna start blending out my pastels. because I want my sky to be kind of smooth. And where I see that I need more pastel, I will be adding it slowly. So you can see that here you can clearly feel that there's not enough pigment, so but not to fill the paper in too quickly. I will be adding it gradually. Blend and add, blend and add. So I really want a very smooth transition here. So here I'm going to add more of this blue. More of this blue. Cleaning my hands. Kind of blending it into the paper. And here where I see that I need more lighter colors, I'm adding them. It's amazing when you're painting with pastels to kind of feel the paper and feel the pigment and also rub off your fingers. But if you've seen my previous video, I showed the result of rubbing. My fingers were raw, but it's worth it. So being very gentle. I'm trying to create a smooth transition. I'm not making any clouds or anything. And here I lack some pink and a bit more of this blue. If you do want to make clouds, we can actually try and create some clouds just to add a bit of interest into this side of the painting. I will show you how to do that. It's very easy. The further we go from the compositional center, the less intense my color layer will be. So also another thing, we could have cropped this composition slightly differently. And it would be, for example, we could have lowered it and created like a portrait view of the landscape. And that would kind of focus more on the sky, for example, instead of focusing on the trees. But so I wanted to draw trees. I decided to crop it this way. So before you start any painting, think about the compositional element. And I'm just gently taking it out into the background. Okay. So I'm quite happy with the sky. I think just here a bit more pigment. Some pinks to warm it up. And now that we've finished the sky, we can continue and move on to the water. And the trees, I will be putting them on top of this kind of background. Okay, so here we have kind of a silhouette of a cloud, and I think we can make this silhouette happen now. Where did my pastel go? This is too dark. I think I'm gonna choose something like this, and I'm gonna create the cloud. So this is the bottom of the cloud, and now I need something light. I need something off whitish, not completely white. Okay, this is white, but it's not very bright. And I'm gonna create the silhouette of the cloud. You can add some dark here as well. And I'm rubbing it into the inside of the cloud. And leaving this edge hard. Okay, so this is what we do with the clouds, and we can leave it at that. Just maybe add a bit of yellows into that shadow, just to make it more colorful. Okay. So next thing that we do is we're gonna create that forest, and I'm gonna add this dark green, but I will pass with my light blue over the top of it. Again, I'm gonna see if my picture is level. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create this line like this. And now with the light blue, I will go over the top. Let's lift this off. As this forest is in the back, it's going to have the atmosphere kind of showing us this bluish tint in the distance. So there we go. Now it's time for the water, and the water is kind of the opposite of our sky as it's reflecting in this lake. And I'm gonna start with my light. Where's my light blue? Yellows. Okay, so let's start with the yellows. And the water, I'm gonna, here we will have the reflection. The water, I'm gonna create using also some of this beige here, just a bit. Pinks. And I'm drawing all the way through my trees. And then the light blue. And here, where it's closer to the trees, it's more pigmented. And we can add this dark reflection, but remember that there's a line separating it from the trees themselves. There's a line reflecting first. And it's quite light, and I'm gonna use my yellow. Actually, this ochre green is gonna be very good. There we go. And also some of this darker blue on top, making a reflection of the trees. A bit more of this dark green. And here I will leave the texture. I'm not gonna blend it. And then we go into the blues. Here I forgot to add my light blue. And over here I'm gonna go into even darker blues. And now I'm gonna blend the water, and I'm gonna move in this direction blending it, because I want it to be smooth, and I want it to have the direction of the water. As it's always going to be horizontal. So on sandpaper, pastel, they blend very well, and the colors are really fantastic. And as I'm leaving texture here, this one I will slightly blend it as it's less, as it's reflecting in the water. I want to give it a semblance of reflection. I'm gonna pull it out slightly, just to create those treetops. So here we have kind of a very sunny day. And I see that this dark blue is only at the bottom here. And I'm not gonna add it here. Here we're gonna go only into this mid blue. Cleaning my hands. So you can notice that here I applied less pastel, less heavily, so that I can draw my trees over the top. I'm kind of blending it out into the paper. And here we have some of that shoreline visible also. I'm gonna add it with this blue. And just to check my levels again. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create the foreground. And for that, I'm gonna look at my lightest parts, and I'm going to create that silhouette. And it's actually, we can even use the color of the paper, the toned color that I added. I'm adding this, kind of correcting the shape where I need to. And rocks, they're very interesting to draw. And now I'm going in with this kind of a greenish ochre color that we added here as well. And on sanded paper, it's really nice, the texture, when you're drawing rocks, as it will create that texture simply by adding pastel. There's a little bush there, but I don't want to add it, to be honest. And now I'm going to go into my darker color. I'm going to add those shadow bits. And there's this large area that is in the shadow. This is, I think it's a dark blue of Rembrandt. And again, like the dark green, it goes from the same line of darks. So I'm looking at the reference photo, and in places I'm adding it in thicker layers. And then here I'm gonna add, just to intensify those shadows a bit more in places, not everywhere, just a bit, especially closer to the trees where I want to have my center, where I want to have my focus in the picture. And I really do need something in between these two colors. Let's try this, something warm gray. Yeah, this will do. This is a warm gray. It's kind of a medium color between the lightest lights. And I'm adding it to create that rocky shore. So this one here, there's a nice silhouette here. Just gonna pull out some of those lights more. And there's quite a light area over here. So this is the biggest contrast when it goes to my drawing. So we can leave it at that, and now we do the most pleasant thing. So we're gonna create the silhouette of the trees. And I'm taking my, let's take the mid-tone green. And let's start adding those areas of color that I see. So I'm looking at the shapes of what I see, basically of the shapes of these branches that clump together. There's more greener bit here. And then back on this side. Over here. Now, not to get lost, I can add those trunks, and I can see this trunk here. And also this trunk here. And there's a shadow going to be coming off of these trunks. Okay. Now I'm gonna add the light bit on the trunk. And it's still darker than the water. I want it to be just a bit of this yellow, maybe, just to create those tiny highlights very thin. So you can see already we have the 3D kind of effect. Now I'm going to take my dark green, and I see that this Rembrandt is not like other Rembrandts. It's very soft, to be honest. And now I'm going to create that shape of the branch, because it's quite dark. These branches here are quite dark. So I'm looking at the shape and moving in these little strokes. Okay, there are some branches here. This bit also is quite dark. There are some darker branches over here and some darker bits over here. Now we're going to go in with the lighter green, and create that bright green light on our branches. So I'm exaggerating here. Switching back to my green, just to create more of a movement. And there's also a bit of lighter areas here, just barely touching. It's got too bright. Gonna go in with my darker green too. Gonna dial it down a bit. Now, where I see these kind of areas of the sky, I'm going to add my yellows and blues. So I'm going to choose my light blue and add those areas of light shining through the tree. And this is going to create that airy effect. Blending it away. So you can see that this kind of creates a feeling of air going through the tree. You can notice more holes like this closer to the trunk and closer to the branches. So in here. And I'm going to take my yellow as well and add it here on the edge where there's the more yellow in the sky. Okay, and now what I need to do is I need to add some branches as well. We can use either the dark blue or this dark gray. So I can see that there is a tip. I can darken it even more so as to kind of draw the attention to these trunks. And from here it goes, I'm creating a broken line. Some places it's visible, in some places not. Doesn't have to be identical to the tree. Actually here, I don't like it, it's too thick, and I'm gonna correct it by adding this green over the top and kind of narrowing the making it more narrow, the trunk, and adding a bit of this yellow just in places where the sun kind of hits it to make it look thinner. Okay, so now again my reference photo went away. I see that I lack some of this dark green in here, also on some of these branches, just to give them a sense of dimension. Some brighter green over here. So I'm just looking at the shapes of branches as I see them and adding those greens in. And then here I see this gnarly branch. I like drawing pines because they are very interesting when they is how they create their branches. And we need to add some light to the parts where the light hits the branches. It's too light. Brown, just to add some dimension to the branches. Also, what we can do is I like to smudge a bit my leaves. and create that sensation of movement in the tree. Just very lightly. Always in the same direction, and also, as you noticed, I washed my paper in the same direction as well. Diagonally, so just to give it a bit of movement. And over the top I will add a bit more of these kind of accentuate a bit more. Going over the branches in some places as well. It's quite crumbly, this one. To lose this trunk. And also in some bits where it's quite dark, I can use a bit of blues. This is too light, I need a very dark blue. Where's my dark blue? This one. Just to kind of tie it into the sky and water theme. So now what I have to do is I need to take a look at my drawing and correct some bits that are not that I don't like. So for example, there's quite a bit of shadow happening here, and I want to intensify it just to draw the eye closer into these trees. And also this shadow that's cast by the trees. And the highlight, oh damn it, went too far. Not a problem, blend it. And there we go. We have quite a nice painting all finished up. So now all that's left to do is take off, let's see how it looks. Let's lift out the screen that fell here. Something, I need the same color pastel to cover it up here. No, this is too dark. Yeah, this one. Just to cover up that hole. I don't know what happened there. As I said, this is an experiment with this wash technique. So let's see how it looks. Always rip the tape off away from your pastel, not towards it, away from the painting. Otherwise you're gonna put dust over the painting. There we go. Okay, so all of this bit is gonna go under the mat. And there we go. Our painting is ready. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I really hope to see you soon in the other tutorials that I will be doing. So for now, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye!